great to be back in Philly. Once again, we're making history. Together, we will elect the first woman president of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Let me start by thanking you for allowing me to serve as Second Lady of the United States for the past 8 years. It's been an honor, and let me thank you for the love and support you have given our family. It has meant the world to us. Over the past 8 years, America has gotten to know the Joe Biden that I know and love. He's honest and strong, principled and compassionate. He was authentic long before it became a buzzword in politics. He understands that working people are the backbone of this nation. And he has tremendous empathy for those in need. He knows, as I do, that education is the great equalizer, and that community colleges are America's best-kept secret. And he believes, as I do, that we have a special obligation to our military and their families. He has a deep commitment to justice, and he has spent his whole career standing up to the abuse of power. He knows at its best, politics is always a matter of the heart. And he remains today, even after all he's been through, the most optimistic person I know. He loves his family. He loves this country. He's your vice president and my husband, Joe Biden.
You know, my dad used to have an expression. He said, it's a lucky person who gets up in the morning, puts both feet in the floor, knows what they're about to do, and thinks it still matters.
For over 40 years, Joe Biden has had the courage to speak out and lead on the toughest issues facing America.
When I wrote the Violence Against Women Act back in 1989, I think people, although they cared about it, thought maybe there's not much we can do about it.
But he saw an injustice too great to ignore. Violence against women was a moral stain on the conscience of a nation.
We created a civil cause of action to empower women who are abused in this country.
For millions of women, the Violence Against Women Act has provided protection, support, and the ability to rebuild their lives. Apartheid in South Africa offended everything we stood for as a nation, but America was slow to act.
I'm ashamed of the lack of moral backbone to this policy. These people are dying. You feel frustration, they're dying. They're being shot. They're lined up, they're shooting children. Our loyalty is not to South Africa, it's to South Africans.
Genocide in Bosnia challenged the world. Joe Biden spoke out.
What's going on is an atrocity. This guy's a thug, a war criminal. It's truly a shame what we're allowing to happen. We're acting collectively as the free world like cowards.
In the 1990s, the NRA threatened anyone who crossed them. Joe Biden took them on.
We will not step back from the commitment we have made to the American people to give them safe streets, safe homes, and safe schools. That's why we fought the gun lobby and passed a ban on assault weapons.
It's the kind of courage we need today in Congress to stand up to the NRA. When the freedom to love who you choose was being denied by our own government, Joe Biden said, no more.
And what this is all about is a simple proposition. Who do you love? Who do you love? And will you be loyal to the person you love? And that's what people are finding out is what all marriages, they're root are about. Whether they're marriages of lesbians or gay men or heterosexuals.
It's over. The long constitutional debate on whether gay couples have a constitutional right to marry is over, and the answer is yes.
For Joe Biden, the one sacred obligation of a nation is to those who have served.
The veterans of America are not only the heart and soul, but you are the very spine of this nation, who have served and sacrificed for all of us.
And for those military families who have lost loved ones, who have sacrificed the most, he's offered hope.
There will come a day when the thought of your son or daughter, or your husband or wife, brings a smile to your lips before it brings a tear to your eye. It will happen. My prayer for you is that day will come sooner or later. But the only thing I have more experience than you in is this. I'm telling you, it will come. I believe we need a moonshot in this country to cure cancer. It's personal. Like many of you, I've experienced in my family a dreaded C word. Every year around the world, 14 million people are diagnosed with cancer. We are going to fundamentally change the face of cancer.
And because he's gone to the mat for all of us on so many issues over the past 40 years, I'm putting Joe in charge of mission control.
In the last 22 years, violence against women has dropped 64%, and more people are reporting. But the one place it hasn't changed is on college campuses.
Today, he's leading a movement to end sex abuse on college campuses.
Unfortunately, 1 in 5 women will be the victim of sexual assault while a student. And that's why we launched the It's On Us campaign. It says, 1, I promise to intervene when I see something. 2, I promise to create an environment where sexual assault is unacceptable. And 3, no consent means no.
A gut-wrenching story that has gone viral.
Vice President Joe Biden has written a heartfelt letter to the survivor.
I do not know your name, but your words are forever seared in my soul. Your words will help people you have never met. You've given them the strength they need to fight. I do not know your name, but I will never forget you. Let's change the culture so that no abused woman or man ever feel they have to ask themselves, what did I do? They did nothing wrong.
It was the great battles over civil rights and the Vietnam War that brought Joe Biden to public life. And he hasn't flinched or walked away from the great battles that have driven and defined this nation ever since. His has been a career defined by honesty, passion, and conviction. And throughout it all, when it mattered most, he's forced us all to look deep in our souls and ask, is this who we are as a nation? And perhaps more importantly, is this who we want to be?
I am more optimistic about America's chances today than I have been my entire life.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Thank you. you, thank you, thank you. I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, 8 years ago, I stood on a stage in Denver, and I accepted your nomination to be Vice President of the United States. And every single day since then, it's been the honor of our lives for Jill and me. Every day, we've been grateful to Barack and Michelle for asking them to join us in this and join them in that incredible journey. A journey that can only happen in America. But we not only have worked together, as it becomes pretty obvious, we become friends. We're now family. We're family. Folks, you've all seen over the last 8 years what President Obama means to this country. He's the embodiment. He is the embodiment of honor, resolve, and character. One of the finest presidents we have ever had. That's right. This is a man of character. And he's become a brother to Jill and me. And Michelle, I don't know where you are, kid, but you're incredible. You are incredible. And I was talking to Barack today. It's no longer who's going to give the best speech. We already know who did that. You were incredible Monday night. To the Delaware delegation, as they say in Southern Delaware, Barack and I married way up. Way up. Folks, as I stand here tonight, I see so many friends and colleagues like my buddy Chris Dodd and the Connecticut delegation, so many people here. I see the faces of those who have placed their belief in Barack and me. So many faces, but one. This is kind of a bittersweet moment for Jill and me and our family. In 2008, when he was about to deploy to Iraq, and again in 2012, our son Beau introduced me to the country and placed my name in nomination. You got a glimpse. I know I sound like a dad, but you got a glimpse what an incredibly fine young man Beau was. Thank you. Thank you. His wife, Hallie, and his 2 kids are here tonight. But as Ernest Hemingway once wrote, the world breaks everyone, and afterwards, many are strong at the broken places. I've been made strong at the broken places by my love, Jill, by my heart, my son, Hunter, and the love of my life, my Ashley, and by all of you. And I mean this sincerely. Those who've been through this, you know I mean what I say. By all of you, your love, your prayers, your support. But you know what? We talk about We think about the countless thousands of other people who suffered so much more than we have, with so much less support, so much less reason to go on. But they get up every morning, every day. They put one foot in front of the other. They keep going. That's the unbreakable spirit of the people of America. That's who we are. That's who we are. Don't forget it. Like the people in the neighborhood that Jill and I grew up in, she in Willow Grove and my down in Wilmington and Claymont. The kid in Claymont with the most courage, who always jumped in when you were double teamed or your back was against the wall, who became a cop because he always wanted to help people. The middle daughter of 3 daughters, who always made her mother smile, who was a hero to her sisters, now a major in the United States Marine Corps because, Mr. President, I wanted to serve my country. The teachers who Jill knows and so many of you know, who take money out of their own pockets to buy pencils and notebooks for the students who can't afford them. Why? Why? Because being a teacher is not what they do, it's who they are. You know what I know, for real. These are the people who are the heart and soul of this country. It's the America that I know, the America that Hillary knows and Tim Kaine knows. You know, I've known Hillary for well over 30 years. Before she was First Lady of the United States, when she became First Lady, we served together in the United States Senate, and during her years as Secretary of State, once a week, we had breakfast in my home, the Vice President's residence. Everybody knows she's smart. Everybody knows she's tough. But I know what she's passionate about. I know Hillary. Hillary understands. Hillary gets it. Hillary understands that that college loan is about a lot more than getting a qualified student education. It's about saving the mom and the dad from the indignity of having to look at their talented child and say, Sonny, honey, I'm so sorry. The bank wouldn't lend me the money. I can't help you to get to school. I know that about Hillary. Hillary understood that for years, millions of people went to bed staring at the ceiling, thinking, oh my God, what if I get breast cancer or he has a heart attack? I will lose everything. What will we do then? I know about Hillary Clinton. Ladies and gentlemen, we all understand what it will mean for our daughters and granddaughters when Hillary Clinton walks into the Oval Office as President of the United States of America. It will change their lives. My daughters and granddaughters can do anything any son or grandson can do, and she will prove it, Mr. Mayor. So let me say as clearly as I can. If you live in the neighborhoods like the one Jill and I grew up in, if you worry about your job and getting a decent pay, if you worry about your children's education, if you're taking care of an elderly parent, then there's only one person in this election who will help you. There's only one person in this race who will be there, who's always been there for you, and that's Hillary Clinton's life story. It's not just who she is, it's her life story. She's always there. She's always been there. And so has Tim Kaine. Ladies and gentlemen, to state the obvious, and I'm not trying to be a wise guy here, I really mean it. That's not Donald Trump's story. Just listen to me a second without booing or cheering. I mean this sincerely. We should really think about this. His cynicism is unbounded. His lack of empathy and compassion can be summed up in a phrase I suspect he's most proud of having made famous: "You're fired." I mean, really, I'm not joking. Think about that. Think about that. Think about everything you learned as a child, no matter where you were raised. How can there be pleasure in saying you're fired? He's trying to tell us he cares about the middle class. Give me a break. That's a bunch of malarkey. Tell you. Folks, whatever he thinks, and I mean this in the bottom of my heart, I know I'm called Middle Class Joe. In Washington, that's not meant as a compliment. It means you're not sophisticated. But I know why we're strong. I know why we have held together. I know why we are united. It's because there's always been a growing middle class. This guy doesn't have a clue about the middle class. Not a clue. Because, folks, when the middle class does well, the rich do very well and the poor have hope. They have a way up. He has no clue about what makes America great. Actually, he has no clue, period. But folks, let me, you got it. Let me, okay. So, folks, let me say something that has nothing to do with politics. Let me talk about something that I am deadly serious about. This is a complicated and uncertain world we live in. The threats are too great. The times are too uncertain to elect Donald Trump as President of the United States. Now, let me finish. No major party nominee in the history of this nation has ever known less or has been less prepared to deal with our national security. We cannot elect a man who exploits our fears of ISIS and other terrorists, who has no plan whatsoever to make us safer. A man who embraces the tactics of our enemies, torture, religious intolerance. You all know. All the Republicans know. That's not who we are. It betrays our values. It alienates those who we need in the fight against ISIS. Donald Trump, with all his rhetoric, would literally make us less safe. We cannot elect a man who belittles our closest allies while embracing dictators like Vladimir Putin. No, I mean it. A man who seeks to sow division in America for his own gain and disorder around the world. A man who confuses bluster with strength. We simply cannot let that happen as Americans. Period. Folks, No one ever doubts I mean what I say. It's just that sometimes I say all that I mean. But folks, let me tell you what I literally told every world leader I met with, and I've met them all. It's never, never, never been a good bet to bet against America. We have the finest fighting force in the world. Not only Not only do we have the largest economy in the world, we have the strongest economy in the world. We have the most productive workers in the world. And given a fair shot, given a fair chance, Americans have never, ever, ever, ever let their country down. Never. Never. Ordinary people like us who do extraordinary things. We've had candidates before who attempted to get elected by appealing to our fears, but they've never succeeded because we do not scare easily. We never bow. We never bend. We never break when confronted with crisis. No, we endure, we overcome, and we always, always, always move forward. That's why I can say with absolute conviction, I am more optimistic about our chances today than when I was elected as a 29-year-old kid to the Senate. The 21st century is going to be the American century. Because we lead not only by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. That is the history of the journey of America. And God willing, Hillary Clinton will write the next chapter in that journey. We are America, second to none, and we own the finish line. Don't forget it. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Come on. We're America. Thank you.
Please welcome Mayor Kasim Reed from Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey, Governor. Good evening. As the mayor of Atlanta, the city that burned to the ground and rose again from the ashes, the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the home of the civil rights movement. And because we were the city too busy to hate, we are now at the economic center of the Southeast. I am here today because I believe in our future. I believe we have a responsibility to one another and to the next generation to ensure that our opportunity is limited only by our imagination. I share this belief with Hillary Clinton, that our achievements are only limited by what we can dream and do. You see, Atlanta is a city of dreamers. But when I became mayor, the city was struggling through the worst recession in 80 years. We were down, crime was up. But I looked around our city, and I saw the way forward was to lean on one another, to turn to one another, and to make an unshakable agreement that if a young person was willing to learn, we would put a book in her hands. That if a young man was willing to work, we would put a job and a paycheck in his hands. And if you were willing to step up, then we should meet you halfway, and together we could put your future back in your hands. People want to dream again. We turned our city around, and at the same time, President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden were turning America around. Today, we are stronger, and we will grow stronger still when President Hillary Clinton builds an economy that works for everyone. My fellow Democrats, tonight we choose diversity over division. We choose a steady-handed commander-in-chief over a loose cannon. We choose a leader who would rather be in the trenches, securing health care for 8 million children, than in a suite putting his name on a tower that he probably doesn't own. We choose something different tonight. I believe that Americans are ready to get to work, to make the possible real. Hillary Clinton is the leader to take us there. President Harry Truman once said that there are a small number of people in America who have the power and the prestige and the connections to make sure that their interests are looked after. But he said for everybody else, there's the President of the United States, and that's why we need Hillary Clinton. More than 60 years later, his statement holds true tonight. And tonight we have someone who will look out for all Americans and who will do so every day of her presidency with all of her heart. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our champion, Hillary Clinton. Let me hear you. And now I'm honored to introduce someone who has been a friend and mentor to me during my time as mayor. Michael Bloomberg has articulated an optimistic performance, a universal vision that has built New York City and has also helped other cities around the world. Thanks to his purpose-driven philanthropy, he has done so much. Please join me in welcoming a man whose commitment to America transcends politics, the three-time mayor of the city of New York, Michael Bloomberg. Let us hear it.
Thank you. Thank you. Kasim, thank you for that kind introduction. And let me thank all of you for welcoming an outsider here to deliver what will be an unconventional convention speech. Now, I am not here as a member of any party or to endorse any party platform. I am here for one reason: to explain why I believe it is imperative that we elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States. And to ask you to join with me in supporting her this November. You know, when the Founding Fathers arrived here in Philadelphia to forge a new nation, they didn't come as Democrats or Republicans or to nominate a presidential candidate. They came as patriots who feared party politics, and I know how they felt. I've been a Democrat, I've been a Republican, and I eventually became an independent because I don't believe that either party has a monopoly on good ideas or strong leadership. When I enter the voting booth each time, I look at the candidate, not the party label. I have supported elected officials from both sides of the aisle, and probably not many people in this room can say that. But I know there are many watching at home who can. And now they are carefully weighing their choices. I understand their dilemma. I know what it's like to have neither party fully represent my views or values. Too many Republicans blame immigrants for problems, and they stand in the way of action on climate change and gun violence. Meanwhile, many Democrats, I think wrongly, blame the private sector for our problems, and they stand in the way of action on education and deficit reduction. There are times when I disagree with Hillary Clinton, but let me tell you, whatever our disagreements may be, I've come here to say we must put them aside for the good of our country. And we must unite around the candidate who can defeat a dangerous demagogue. I believe it's the duty of all American citizens to make our voices heard by voting in this election. And if you're not yet registered to vote, go online and do it now. This is just too important to sit out. Now, we've heard a lot of talk in this campaign about needing a leader who understands business. I couldn't agree more. I built a business, and I didn't start it with $1 million check from my father. Because of my success in the private sector, I had the chance to run America's largest city for 12 years, governing in the wake of its greatest tragedy. Today, as an independent and an entrepreneur and a former mayor, I believe we need a president who is a problem solver, not a bomb thrower. Someone who can bring members of Congress together to get big things done. And I know Hillary can do that because I saw it firsthand. I was elected mayor 2 months after 9/11 as a Republican, and I saw how Hillary Clinton worked with Republicans in Washington to ensure that New York got the help it needed to recover and rebuild. Throughout her time in the Senate, we didn't always agree, but Hillary Clinton always listened. And that's the kind of approach we need in Washington today, and it just has to start in the White House. Given my background, I've often encouraged business leaders to run for office because many of them share the same pragmatic approach to building consensus. But not all. Most of us who have created a business know that we're only as good as the way our employees, clients, and partners view us. Most of us don't pretend that we're smart enough to make every decision by ourselves. And most of us who have our names on the door know that we are only as good as our word, but not Donald Trump. Through his career, Donald Trump has left behind a well-documented record of bankruptcies and thousands of lawsuits and angry stockholders and contractors who feel cheated and disillusioned customers who feel they've been ripped off. Trump says he wants to run the nation like he's running his business? God help us. I'm a New Yorker, and I know a con when I see one. Trump says he'll punish manufacturers that move to Mexico or China, but the clothes he sells are made overseas in low-wage factories. He says he wants to put Americans back to work, but he games the U.S. visa system so he can hire temporary foreign workers at low wages. He says he wants to deport 11 million undocumented people, but he seems to have no problem in hiring. What I miss here? Truth be told, the richest thing about Donald Trump is his hypocrisy. He wants you to believe that we can solve our biggest problems by deporting Mexicans and shutting out Muslims. He wants you to believe that erecting trade barriers will bring back good jobs. He's wrong on both counts. We can only solve our biggest problems if we come together and embrace the freedoms that our founding fathers established right here in Philadelphia, which permitted our ancestors to create the great American exceptionalism that all of us now enjoy. Donald Trump doesn't understand that. Hillary Clinton does. And we can only create good jobs if we make smarter investments in infrastructure and do more to support small businesses, not stiff them. Donald Trump doesn't understand that. Hillary Clinton does. I understand the appeal of a businessman president, but Trump's business plan is a disaster in the making. He would make it harder for small businesses to compete, do great damage to our economy, threaten the retirement savings of millions of Americans, lead to greater debt and more unemployment, erode our influence around the world, and make our communities less safe. The bottom line is Trump is a risky, reckless, and radical choice, and we can't afford to make that choice. Now, I know Hillary Clinton is not flawless. No candidate is. But she is the right choice and the responsible choice in this election. And no matter what you may think about her politics or her record, Hillary Clinton understands that this is not reality television. This is reality. She understands the job of president. It involves finding solutions, not pointing fingers, and offering hope, not stoking fear. Over the course of our country's proud history, we have faced our share of grave challenges, but we have never retreated in fear. Never. Not here in Philadelphia in 1776, not here at Gettysburg in 1863, not through 2 world wars and a Great Depression, not at Selma or Stonewall, and not after 9/11. And we must not start now. America is the greatest country on earth. And when people vote with their feet, they come here. The presidency of the United States is the most powerful office in the world. So I say to my fellow independents, your votes matter now. Your vote will determine the future of your job, your business, and our future together as a country. To me, this election is not a choice between a Democrat and a Republican. It is a choice between who is better to lead our country right now. Better for our economy, better for our security, better for our freedom, and better for our future. There is no doubt in my mind that Hillary Clinton is the right choice this November. So tonight, as an independent, I am asking you to join with me, not out of party loyalty, but out of love of country. And together, let's select a sane, competent person with international experience, a unifier who is mature enough to reach out for advice, to build consensus, and to recognize that we all have something to contribute. So let's elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gene Sperling, former director of the National Economic Council.
And I'm Senator Mitch McConnell.
Today we're here to discuss debt.
Debt.
Let's start with something Donald said.
I'm the king of debt. I'm great with debt. Nobody knows debt better than me. I've made a fortune by using debt.
It sounds like he is great with debt.
You see, Donald's love affair with debt has been good for Donald. It wouldn't be good for America at all. People can't agree on much these days.
I disagree.
Except you. But across the political spectrum, virtually everyone agrees Trump's policies would tank the economy. Trump's budget plan would spend $7 trillion on tax cuts for millionaires like himself.
That seems like a lot.
Add another $5 trillion on tax cuts for corporations like his. Add it all up, and we'd be tacking on 34 trillion with a T dollars of debt to our economy over the next 20 years.
20 years.
Yes, in economic terms, we would call this a
show.
A little cleaner, perhaps, for
show.
How about an unsustainable debt burden? Donald's plan would add more than $100,000 of debt for every man, woman, and child in America. Donald says he might just pay off the new debt by printing money.
You can do that?
No, in economic terms, we would describe this as a
bad thing.
More like a that would really this economy for decades to come.
I've never been more attracted to you than right now.
1, 2.
Please welcome Lenny Kravitz.
Take a stand. Brothers and sisters, join hands. We've got to let love rule. Oh yeah. Transcends all space and time. Can you hear me? And love can make a little child smile. Can't you see? Can't you see? This won't go wrong. revolution.
This is for Hillary.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion.
Like how a single word can make a heart open.
I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. And all those things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream and loud tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is our fight song. Take back our life song. Prove we're alright song.
My power's turned on.
Starting right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes.
'Cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me.
Losing friends and I'm chasing sleep. Everybody's worried about me. I'm in too deep. Said I'm in too deep.
Well, it's been 2 years and I miss my home, but there's a fire burning in my bones. Still believe.
Yeah, I still believe. And all those things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream and loud tonight.
Can't you hear my voice this time?
This is our fight song. Take back my life song. Prove we're alright song. My power's turned on. Starting right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. 'Cause I've still got a lot of fight left.
It take a village to raise a child, prepare him to run a nation. We got some hard choices, but together we gonna make it. We living in history. America, take a bow. We about to show the world, yeah, women are equal now.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion.
Like how a single word can make a heart open. I may only have one match,
But I can make an explosion.
This is our fight song.
Hey.
Take back my life song. Prove we're alright song. My power's turned on. Starting right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. 'Cause I still got a lot of fight left in me.
Please welcome Representative Bobby Scott from Virginia.
My fellow Democrats, I first met Tim Kaine and his amazing wife during his first campaign for city council in Richmond, Virginia. That was more years ago than I want to admit. But I saw in him then what I see in him now, a person of substance, a person of passion, principle, integrity, a great convener who brings people together. And I can't wait for the rest of the country to know the Tim Kaine that I know and that Virginia knows. Even as he's risen for City Hall, to the governor's mansion, to the halls of the U.S. Capitol, I still see in Tim Kaine the same sense of purpose, the fundamental goodness that led him to become a civil rights lawyer, listening to his neighbors' concerns and fears, fighting for the underserved and the underrepresented, finding solutions to make our communities better and more fair. The Bible calls on us to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly, and there are few people who live out that creed as fully and completely as Tim Kaine. My fellow Americans, tonight we have nominated a truly honorable man for the office of Vice President of the United States of America in my friend, the gentleman from Virginia, Tim Kaine.
America was built on courage, on imagination, and an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. And a life built on selfless, humble service had a Midwestern start in a working-class home in Kansas City, where Tim Kaine's mother and father instilled in him the principles of faith and hard work. Pitching in at his dad's ironworking shop, he learned the tools of the trade. Off to college at Mizzou and then Harvard Law School, after which Tim took a year off and served as a Christian missionary in Honduras, where he taught the carpentry and welding skills he'd learned from his father. In turn, they taught Tim Spanish, and that we have so much to learn from one another if only we would listen. Tim returned and met the love of his life, Ann Holton, and was embraced by a family that had been breaking ground on civil rights and political courage. Ann's father, Linwood Holton, was the Republican governor of Virginia and was a leader in desegregating the schools, sending his daughters to a majority black public school. Tim and Ann were married in the same Richmond, Virginia church they still attend today. Tim began as a civil rights lawyer, focused on fighting housing discrimination, insurance companies, and injustice. Eventually, he ran for city council. He became Richmond's mayor, solving problems by bringing people together. Ann and Tim were also raising a family, sending their children to the same public school Ann had attended. They still live in the same house they first moved into 24 years ago. Tim was elected lieutenant governor of Virginia and in 2005 won a hard-fought election for governor, making tough decisions, facing the deepest recession since the 1930s. And Tim Kaine's problem-solving earned national recognition for his work in tough times. Virginia was named the best state in America to raise a child and the best state for business. It had one of the lowest unemployment rates and one of the highest family incomes. But his time as governor also saw his state darkened by what he calls unquestionably the worst day of his life, when he helped Virginia come together after the shooting at Virginia Tech left 32 teachers and students dead.
But there was something in the story yesterday that was different, and it was you. Your spirit of, even in a dark day, of optimism and community and hope and wanting to be together. And you taught something good yesterday, even in a dark day, to people all around the world, and the world needs that example before it.
Tim Kaine has always helped people rise above the things that divide us. He took his problem-solving approach to the U.S. Senate, where Tim has become an aggressive advocate for our men and women in uniform, working to reduce unemployment among veterans. And on the progressive causes that make a difference for working families, Tim has been one of the Senate's leaders in protecting women's health care, committed to comprehensive immigration reform, a determined advocate for gun safety, a lifetime fighting for social justice and fairness, a life's work built on the principle that we are stronger together.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Senator Tim Kaine.
Thank you, everybody. Hello, Philadelphia. Hello, Democratic family. I want to start off by thanking my beautiful wife, Ann, and my 3 wonderful children, Nat, Woody, and Anella. They're sitting right up there. You know, my son Nat deployed with his Marine Battalion just 2 days ago. He deployed overseas to protect and defend the very NATO allies that Donald Trump says he now wants to abandon. Semper Fi, Nat. Semper Fi. My parents and my in-laws are here, our siblings and their spouses, our nieces and nephews, and hundreds of friends from Virginia and beyond. I love seeing you front and center. Including my friend of 37 years, Senior Senator Mark Warner, my great Governor Terry McAuliffe, and my great friend and Congressman Bobby Scott. We love you all. Today, for my wife Ann and every strong woman in this country, for Nat, Woody, and Anella, and every young person starting out in life to make their own dreams real, for every man and woman serving our country in the military, at home or abroad, for every working family working hard to get ahead and stay ahead, for my parents and in-laws and every senior citizen who hopes for a dignified retirement with health care and research to end diseases like Alzheimer's. For every American who wants our country to be a beloved community where people aren't demeaned because of who they are, but rather respected for their contributions to this nation. And for all of us who know that the brightest future for our country is the one that we build together, and for my friend Hillary Clinton, I humbly accept my party's nomination to be Vice President of the United States. Thank you. Can I be honest with you about something? Can I be honest with you about something? I never expected to be here, but let me tell you how it happened. I was born in Minnesota and grew up in Kansas City. My folks weren't much into politics. My dad ran a union ironworking shop in the stockyards. And my mom was his best salesman. My 2 brothers and I pitched into work during summers and weekends. And you know, that's how small family businesses do it. My parents, Al and Kathy, here tonight and going strong, they taught me about hard work and about kindness, and most especially about faith. I went to a Jesuit boys' high school, Rockhurst High School. Wow, that's a big line for the Jesuits. Now we had a motto in my school, men for others. And it was there that my faith became something vital, my North Star for orienting my life. And when I left high school, I knew that I wanted to battle for social justice. Like so many of you. like so many of you. That's why I took a year off from law school to volunteer with Jesuit missionaries in Honduras. I taught kids how to be welders and carpenters. Y allá aprendí los valores del pueblo, fe y familia y trabajo, faith, family, and work. Faith, family, and work. Los mismos valores de la comunidad latina aquí en nuestro país. Somos americanos todos. Somos americanos todos. And let me tell you what really struck me there. I got a first-hand look at a different system, a dictatorship where a few people at the top had all of the power and everybody else got left out. Now that convinced me that we've got to advance opportunity for everybody, no matter where you come from, how much money you have, what you look like, how you worship, or who you love. Back in 1970 in Virginia, a Republican governor named Linwood Holton believed exactly the same thing. He integrated Virginia's public schools so that black and white kids could finally learn together, and then the family enrolled their own kids, including his daughter Anne, in those integrated inner-city schools. Many years later, Anne went off to college, and she brought those lessons from that pivotal time with her. And then one day, in a study group, she met this goofy guy who had been off teaching kids in Honduras. Well, Anne and I have now been married almost 32 years, and I am the luckiest husband in the world. You know, let me tell you something. Anne's parents, Lynn and Jinx, are here today, 90 plus and going strong. 90 plus and going strong. Linwood Holton, he's still a Republican, but he's voting for an awful lot of Democrats these days. An awful lot of Democrats. And here's why. He's voting for Democrats because any party that would nominate Donald Trump for president has moved too far away from his party of Lincoln. And I tell you, if any of you are looking for that party of Lincoln, we've got a home for you right here in the Democratic Party. Linwood's example helped inspire me as a civil rights lawyer. Over 17 years, I took on banks, landlords, real estate firms, local governments, anybody who treated anybody unfairly. I had a 6-year case against an insurance company that was discriminating against minority neighborhoods all across the United States in issuing homeowners insurance. Folks, Democratic friends, these are the battles that I have fought my entire life. And that's the story. And that's the story of how I decided to run for office. My city of Richmond was divided and discouraged in the early 1990s. We had an epidemic of gun violence that was overwhelming our low-income neighborhoods. People were pointing fingers and casting blame instead of finding answers. And I couldn't stand it. So I ran for city council, and I won that first race more than 20 years ago by a landslide margin of 94 votes. And I've said ever since, if I'm good at anything in politics, it's because I started at the local level, listening to people, learning about their lives, and trying to get results. I see a mayor here who knows what I'm talking about. Later, I became mayor of Richmond, lieutenant governor, and then the 70th governor of Virginia. Now, I was a hard times governor. I had to steer my state through the deepest recession since the 1930s. But hey, tough times don't last, and tough people do. And can I tell you that Virginians are tough people? We are tough people. And we're smart, too. We achieved national recognition for our work. Best managed state, best state for business, best state for a child to be raised, low unemployment, high median income. We shed tears along the way. We shed tears especially together in the days after that horrible mass shooting at Virginia Tech that killed 32 people, from beautiful 19-year-old students to 70-plus-year-old Romanian-born Holocaust survivors. And we shed tears and held each other up, but afterwards we rolled up our sleeves and we fixed a loophole in the background record check system so that we could make our Commonwealth safer. And we got to do that in the nation. We invested in our people, expanding pre-K and higher ed, because we all know in this room that education is the key to all we want to be. All we want to be. And now I have the honor of representing my Commonwealth in the U.S. Senate. I work on the Armed Services and Foreign Relations committees to keep us safe at home and strong in the world. I work on the Budget Committee with our great Democratic leader of that committee, a spectacular senator who used to be a mayor of Vermont's Bernie Sanders. And everybody, we all should feel the burn, and we all should not want to get burned by the other guy. On that Budget Committee under Bernie's leadership, we fight for investments in education, healthcare, research, transportation, and I also serve on the Aging Committee to make sure that seniors like my folks have a secure retirement and don't get targeted by rip-off artists who will scam them out of their savings or overcharge them for prescription drugs. Can I tell you a funny thing about the Senate? Can I tell you a funny thing about the Senate? That sounds like a yes. I spend a lot of time with Republican senators who, once they have made sure that nobody is listening, will tell you how fantastic a senator that Hillary Clinton was. Now look, this journey that I've told you about has convinced me over and over again that God has created in our country a beautiful and rich tapestry, an incredible cultural diversity that succeeds when we embrace everybody in love and battle back against the forces, the dark forces of division. We're all neighbors, and we must love our neighbors as ourselves. Now, Hillary Clinton and I are compañeros de alma. And we share this basic belief. It's simple. Do all the good you can and serve one another. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. That's what I'm about. That's what you're about. That's what Bernie Sanders is about. That's what Joe and Jill Biden are about. That's what Barack and Michelle Obama are about. And that's what Hillary Clinton is about. Now, si se puede, si se puede, si se puede. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Hey, last week in Cleveland, we heard a lot about trust. So let's talk about trust. Let's talk about trust. I want to tell you why I trust Hillary Clinton. First, she's consistent. She has battled to put kids and families first since she was a teenager. In good times and bad, in victory and defeat, in and out of office, through hell or high water, fighting for underprivileged kids, working at the Children's Defense Fund, fighting to get health insurance for 8 million low-income children when she was First Lady, fighting for the well-being of women and children around the world. Hey, can I offer you a little tip? When you want to know something about the character of somebody in public life, look to see if they have a passion that began long before they were in office and that they have consistently held it throughout their career. Do they have a passion? Did it start before they were in office? Have they held on to it consistently? Folks, Hillary has a passion for kids and families. Donald Trump has a passion too. It's himself. And with Hillary, it's not just words, it's accomplishments. She delivers. As senator, after 9/11, I got my New Yorkers right here and my Virginians right here. She battled congressional Republicans to care for the first responders who went into the towers, who went into the Pentagon and saved the victims of those terrorist attacks. As Secretary of State, she implemented tough sanctions against Iran to pave the way for a diplomatic breakthrough to curtail a nuclear weapons program. And she wasn't afraid. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't afraid to stand up against thugs and dictators. And as a key part of the Obama National Security Team, they decided to go to the ends of the earth to wipe out Osama bin Laden. Hey, do y'all remember Carla, the little girl that we heard from on Monday night, who was worried that her parents would be deported? Carla said she trusts Hillary to keep them together. And do you remember the mothers of the movement last night? They said they trust Hillary to keep other mothers, sons, and daughters safe. And on a personal level, as he's serving our nation abroad, I trust Hillary Clinton with our son's life. Now, you know who I don't trust? I wonder. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Trump is a guy who promises a lot, but you might have noticed he's got a way of saying the same two words every time he makes his biggest, hugest promises. Believe me. It's going to be great, believe me. We're going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it, believe me.
We're going to destroy ISIS so fast, believe me. There's nothing suspicious in my tax returns, believe me. By the way, does anybody in this massive auditorium believe that Donald Trump's been paying his fair share of taxes? Does anybody here believe that Trump ought to release his tax returns just like every other presidential candidate in modern history? Of course he should. Hey, Donald, what are you hiding? And yet, Donald still says, believe me. Believe me. Believe me? Believe me? I mean, here's the thing. Most people, when they run for president, they don't just say, believe me. They respect you enough to tell you how they will get things done. I mean, that's what most people who run for president do. In fact, you can go on HillaryClinton.com right now and find out exactly how she'll make the biggest investment in new jobs in a generation, how she'll defend and build on Wall Street reform, how she'll reform our immigration system to create a path to citizenship, how she'll make it possible to graduate from college debt-free. You can see how she'll protect Roe v. Wade, guarantee equal pay for women, and make paid family leave a reality. All it takes is one click. All it takes is one click, and we can see how she'll do it, how she'll pay for it, and how we'll benefit by it. Not Donald Trump. Not Donald Trump. He never tells you how he's going to do any of the things he says he'll do. He just says, believe me. So here's the question. Here's the question. Do you really believe him? I mean, Donald Trump's whole career says you better not. Small contractors, companies just like my dad's, believed him when he said that he'd pay them to build a casino in Atlantic City. They did the work, they hung the drywall, they poured the concrete, but a year after opening, Trump filed for bankruptcy. He walked away with millions, and they got pennies on the dollar. Some of them went out of businesses, all because they believed Donald Trump. Retirees and families in Florida, they believed Donald Trump when he said that he'd build them some condos, thousands of them. They paid their deposits, but the condos, they were never built. He just pocketed their money and walked away. They lost tens of thousands of dollars, all because they believed Donald Trump. Charity after charity believed Donald Trump when he said he would contribute to them. And thousands of Trump University students believed Donald Trump when he said he would help them succeed. They got stiffed. He says, believe me. Well, his creditors, his contractors, his laid-off employees, and his ripped-off students did just that, and they all got hurt. Folks, you cannot believe one word that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. Not one word. Not one word. Not one word. And I'll tell you, to me, it just seems like our nation It is just too great to put it in the hands of a slick-talking, empty-promising, self-promoting, one-man wrecking crew. But don't take it from me. Don't take it from me. Take it from former First Lady Barbara Bush. Barbara Bush said she doesn't know how any woman could vote for him after his offensive comments about women. Any woman, any woman. Or John McCain's chief economic advisor during the 2008 race, who estimate that Trump's promises would cause America to lose 3.5 million jobs. Or the independent analysts who found that Trump's tax plan given to the wealthy and the biggest corporations would rack up $30 trillion in debt. Or how about this? How about this? John Kasich, the Republican governor who had the honor of hosting the Republican convention in Cleveland, but he wouldn't even attend it because he thinks Donald Trump is such a moral disaster. Or take it from the guy who co-wrote Donald Trump's autobiography. Here's what he said about Trump, quote, "Lying is second nature to him." So do you believe him? I don't know. How about on this side? Do you guys believe him? I mean, do you guys believe him? Is there anyone in this building who believes him? The next president will face many challenges. We better elect the candidate who's proven she can be trusted with the job. The candidate who's proven that she is ready for the job. And when I say ready, I use ready for a very specific reason. When I lived in Honduras, I learned something. The best compliment that you could pay to somebody was to say that they were listo, ready. Not inteligente, smart. Not amable, friendly. Not rico, rich. But listo, listo. Because what listo means in Spanish is this. It means prepared. It means battle-tested. It means rock solid. Up for anything, never backing down. And friends, Hillary Clinton, she's lista. Hillary Clinton is lista. She is ready. She is ready. She's ready because of her faith. She's ready because of her heart. She's ready because of her experience. And she's ready because she knows that in America, we are stronger when we are together. My fellow Democrats, this week, we start the next chapter in our great and proud story. Thomas declared all men were equal, and Abigail remembered the women. Woodrow brokered the peace, and Eleanor broke down the barriers. Jack told us what to ask, and Lyndon answered the call. Martin had a dream, and Cesar y Dolores said, "Si se puede," and Harvey gave his life. Bill built a bridge into the 21st century, and Barack gave us hope. And now Hillary is ready. She's ready to fight. She's ready to win. And she is ready to lead. God bless all of you. On to victory. And thank you, Philadelphia.
Please welcome Sharon Belkofer from Rossford, Ohio.
You're all probably wondering, who the heck is this sweet little old lady? I am Sharon Belkofer, a mom to 3 boys who served their country. A retired nurse and a wife of 52 years, a grandma of 10, and now a great-grandma. I know that President Obama has meant so much to millions of Americans all across the country. I'd like to tell you what he means to me. 6 years ago, on the morning of May 18th, 2010, I became a Gold Star mother. We became a Gold Star family when my son Tom, a lieutenant colonel, was killed in Afghanistan. I first met the president shortly after at Fort Drum, where he was scheduled to speak to the 10th Mountain Division. But when he heard the Gold Star families were there, he wanted to meet with us. And as he was hugging me, I cried all over his suit. Tom would have been so embarrassed. But it must have been okay, because a year later, at an event in my home state of Ohio, as I hoped to get a picture sign, someone told me, "The president would like to see you." And I got my second presidential hug. So warm and kind, so compassionate. I was so inspired. Maybe this sweet old lady could still make a difference. I knew my community schools needed more resources. So at the age of 73, I took a leap of faith and ran for my local school board. And when my back was bothering me, and I didn't feel like knocking on doors, when the wind was blowing and it was cold and dreary, I thought of my son, Tom, who never gave up. And I thought of our president. He never gives up. So why should I be different? Besides, they tell me, walking is good for your back. Well, guess what? I won my election. I won big. The president even sent me a handwritten note of congratulations. That's who he is. No matter how busy, he's never forgotten this little old lady in Ohio who has always had his back. You see, some people in this world make big differences. My son Tom made big differences. The president continues to make big differences, and smaller ones too, like the inspiration he poured into me so that I might make a difference of my own. I wish every American could hug President Obama so that they could see the good in his eyes and feel the warmth in his heart. This is our president. Thank you.
What always impressed me was the calm. This is someone who walked into office faced with multiple crises. Each one of them could sink the country. But he was always calmer than the rest of us.
From his first days in office, the difficult choices he made as president would not only shape the country's future, but reveal the character of the man.
This is an economy right now that can't find the bottom of bad news.
Dire predictions.
A once-in-a-century financial crisis.
The 6 months surrounding January 2009 is the worst 6 months ever.
Mr. President, millions of people are going to lose their jobs, financial systems locked up, and it could collapse.
Tonight, a top GM executive warned, without help, the company will default. There is no plan B.
As I looked around the room, there were so many brilliant people, but at the end of the day, there was only one man in that room who had to make the decision, and all eyes were on him.
Everybody, Democrats, Republicans, do not rescue the automobile industry.
The questions that the president asked again and again and again had to do with how many jobs would be lost. Whenever folks were arguing about numbers and politics, he was always the one who brought it back to people.
Every night, he's up until 2 o'clock in the morning with his big stack of briefing books. That's what he's doing after the girls go to bed.
He does his homework, analyzing the issues, ensuring that he has prepared.
He really didn't care about the politics. He weighed the politics like any politician would. But at the end of the day, he was always willing to lose in order to do the right thing. Always.
A lot of people argued the politics were too costly.
It'll be a cold day in hell before he socializes my country.
Rahm Emanuel came to him and said, you're going to have to pull the bill, because if you push this legislation, you will lose in 2012.
He knew there would be somewhere between 10 and 30 million people who would not get health insurance.
Millions of people were being discriminated against by insurance companies.
When you hear people more worried about the politics of it than what's right and what's wrong, I want you to think about the millions of people all across this country who are looking for some help.
He's thinking to himself, if I decide not to push forward, what do I say to all those people who came up to me with tears in their eyes telling me that they need this to save themselves? And if that means that I'm a one-term president, then I'm a one-term president.
Nothing comes to the desk of the President of the United States unless it's almost impossible. And he has to figure it out.
The most critical thing was he there? We never knew that for sure. The president turns to every principal in the room. What do you recommend I do? And they say, well, 49% chance he's there, 51. It's a close call, Mr. President. He said, all right, thank you. He said, I'll give you my decision in the morning. It dawned on me, he's all alone. This is his decision. If he was wrong, his presidency was done. Over.
There were times when he could not find a way.
At least 14 dead, 50 injured after a lone gunman opens fire in a theater outside.
There's been a shooting at a school in Newtown. This is the Sandy Hook Elementary School.
There are reports of a shooting at a nightclub in Orlando where there were...
I walk into the Oval. His head is down, and he hands me the speech, and he doesn't look up at me. He was too emotional.
He wanted to ban assault weapons, he wanted to limit magazine sizes, and he wanted to impose a universal background check. Well, all three of those concepts are going to be on the floor of the United States Senate for a vote, and they're all going to lose.
Congress literally does nothing. That's the closest I came to feeling disgusted.
Every time I think about those kids, it gets me mad. And by the way, it happens on the streets of Chicago every day.
There's a part of him who thinks, I am in the most powerful office in the most powerful country on the planet, and I can't do anything to erase what just happened.
We gather here in memory of 20 beautiful children and 6 remarkable adults. They were mothers and fathers. They were husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, sons and daughters, friends.
He thinks of it in terms of if we're his son, his daughter, his wife. He actually feels the pain.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved.
When we were lost, he asked us to believe and try to see ourselves in one another. And through crisis and challenge, he kept fighting to move us forward.
There's a temperament associated with being president that he uniquely has. Eyes always fixed on long-term successes.
Americans don't have to worry about insurance companies discriminating against them if they have a pre-existing condition.
Thanks to President Obama, General Motors is once again #1 in sales worldwide.
President Obama signed an executive order aimed at eliminating the pay gap between men and women in the federal government.
America deserves equal pay for equal work.
Judge Sotomayor, are you prepared to take the oath?
I am.
Please raise your right hand.
We'll offer you the chance to come out of the shadows so that you can finally have the dignity of knowing you belong.
Mr. Obama is the first sitting U.S. president to visit Cuba in nearly 90 years.
Osama bin Laden has been brought to justice.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
He's ignited the most robust international agreement on climate change.
The Paris Agreement represents the best chance to save the one planet that we've got.
Obama announced a historic breakthrough with Iran today.
A comprehensive long-term deal that will prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
He has this deep conviction that at big moments when we need to, we can still come together as a country, and that out of a long political darkness, a brighter day will come.
From the Supreme Court, we have read from the bench, there is a right to marriage equality. I repeat, there is a right to marriage equality.
Today, we can say that we've made our union a little more perfect. That love is love.
The Dow closed today at 10,000 points higher.
That's the longest stretch of private sector job growth in our history.
The First Lady said it best, being president has not changed who he is, it has revealed who he is. His core values, his principles, his temperament.
I just stay at it. And I'm just going to keep on staying at it as long as I'm in this office. and America will succeed. I am absolutely confident about that.
In moments of turmoil and doubt and crisis, when there are no good answers, when nothing is black and white and everything is gray, he is that calm presence, that poise and dignity and grace under pressure. That is who he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. I love you back. Hello, America. Hello, Democrats. So, 12 years ago tonight, I addressed this convention for the very first time. You met my two little girls, Malia and Sasha, now two amazing young women who just fill me with pride. You fell for my brilliant wife and partner, Michelle. Who has made me a better father and a better man, who's gone on to inspire our nation as First Lady, and who somehow hasn't aged a day. I know, the same cannot be said for me. My girls remind me all the time, wow, you've changed so much, Daddy. And then they try to clean it up. Yeah. Not bad, just more mature. and it's true. I was so young that first time in Boston. And Look, I'll admit it. Maybe I was a little nervous addressing such a big crowd. But I was filled with faith. Faith in America. The generous, big-hearted, hopeful country that made my story, that made all of our stories possible. Now, lots happened over the years. And while this nation has been tested by war, and it's been tested by recession, and all manner of challenges, I stand before you again tonight, after almost 2 terms as your president, to tell you I am more optimistic about the future of America than ever before. How could I not be, after all that we've achieved together? After the worst recession in 80 years, we fought our way back. We've seen deficits come down, 401ks recover, an auto industry set new records, unemployment reach 8-year lows, and our businesses create 15 million new jobs. After a century of trying, we declared that health care in America is not a privilege for a few, it is a right for everybody. After decades of talk, we finally began to wean ourselves off foreign oil. We doubled our production of clean energy. We brought more of our troops home to their families. And we delivered justice to Osama bin Laden. Through diplomacy, we shut down Iran's nuclear weapons program. We opened up a new chapter with the people of Cuba, brought nearly 200 nations together around a climate agreement that could save this planet for our children. We put policies in place to help students with loans, protect consumers from fraud, cut veterans' homelessness almost in half. And through countless acts of quiet courage, America learned that love has no limits, and marriage equality is now a reality across the land. By so many measures, our country is stronger and more prosperous than it was when we started. And through every victory and every setback, I've insisted that change is never easy and never quick, that we wouldn't meet all of our challenges in one term or one presidency or even in one lifetime. So tonight I'm here to tell you that, yes, we've still got more work to do. More work to do for every American still in need of a good job or a raise, paid leave or a decent retirement, for every child who needs a sturdier ladder out of poverty or world-class education, for everyone who has not yet felt the progress of these past 7.5 years. We need to keep making our streets safer and our criminal justice system fair, our homeland more secure, our world more peaceful and sustainable for the next generation. We're not done perfecting our union or living up to our founding creed, that all of us are created equal. All of us are free in the eyes of God. And that work involves a big choice this November. I think it's fair to say this is not your typical election. It's not just a choice between parties or policies, the usual debates between left and right. This is a more fundamental choice about who we are as a people and whether we stay true to this great American experiment in self-government. Look, we Democrats have always had plenty of differences with the Republican Party, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's precisely this contest of ideas that pushes our country forward. But what we heard in Cleveland last week wasn't particularly Republican, and it sure wasn't conservative. What we heard was a deeply pessimistic vision of a country where we turn against each other and turn away from the rest of the world. There were no serious solutions to pressing problems, just the fanning of resentment and blame and anger and hate. And that is not the America I know. The America I know is full of courage and optimism and ingenuity. The America I know is decent and generous. Sure, we have real anxieties about paying the bills and protecting our kids, caring for a sick parent. We get frustrated with political gridlock and worry about racial divisions. We are shocked and saddened by the madness of Orlando or Nice. There are pockets of America that never recovered from factory closures. Men who took pride in hard work and providing for their families who now feel forgotten. Parents who wonder whether their kids will have the same opportunities that we had. All of that is real. We are challenged to do better, to be better. But as I've traveled this country, through all 50 states, as I've rejoiced with you and mourned with you, what I have also seen more than anything is what is right with America. I see people working hard and starting businesses. I see people teaching kids and serving our country. I see engineers inventing stuff, doctors coming up with new cures. I see a younger generation full of energy and new ideas, not constrained by what is, ready to seize what ought to be. And most of all, I see Americans of every party, every background, every faith, who believe that we are stronger together. Black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, young, old, gay, straight, men, women, folks with disabilities, all pledging allegiance under the same proud flag to this big, bold country that we love. That's what I see. That's the America I know. And there is only one candidate in this race who believes in that future, has devoted her life to that future, a mother and a grandmother who would do anything to help our children thrive. A leader with real plans to break down barriers and blast through glass ceilings and widen the circle of opportunity to every single American, the next president of the United States, Hillary Clinton. Now, 8 years ago, that's right. Let me tell you, 8 years ago, you may remember Hillary and I were rivals for the Democratic nomination. We battled for a year and a half. Let me tell you, it was tough, because Hillary was tough. I was worn out. She was doing everything I was doing, but just like Ginger Rogers, it was backwards in heels. And every time I thought I might have the race won, Hillary just came back stronger. But after it was all over, I asked Hillary to join my team. And she was a little surprised. Some of my staff was surprised. But ultimately, she said yes, because she knew that what was at stake was bigger than either of us. And for 4 years, I had a front row seat to her intelligence, her judgment, and her discipline. I came to realize that her unbelievable work ethic wasn't for praise, it wasn't for attention, that she was in this for everyone who needs a champion. I understood that after all these years, she has never forgotten just who she's fighting for. Hillary's still got the tenacity that she had as a young woman, working at the Children's Defense Fund, going door to door to ultimately make sure kids with disabilities could get a quality education. She's still got the heart she showed as our First Lady, working with Congress to help push through a children's health insurance program that to this day protects millions of kids. She's still seared with the memory of every American she met who lost loved ones on 9/11. Which is why, as a senator from New York, she fought so hard for funding to help first responders, to help the city rebuild. Why, as Secretary of State, she sat with me in the Situation Room and forcefully argued in favor of the mission that took out bin Laden. You know, nothing truly prepares you for the demands of the Oval Office. You can read about it, you can study it, but until you've sat at that desk, you don't know what it's like to manage a global crisis or send young people to war. But Hillary's been in the room. She's been part of those decisions. She knows what's at stake in the decisions our government makes. What's at stake for the working family, for the senior citizen, or the small business owner, for the soldier, for the veteran. And even in the midst of crisis, she listens to people and she keeps her cool and she treats everybody with respect. And no matter how daunting the odds, no matter how much people try to knock her down, she never, ever quits. That is the Hillary I know. That's the Hillary I've come to admire. And that's why I can say with confidence, there has never been a man or a woman, not me, not Bill, nobody, more qualified than Hillary Clinton to serve as President of the United States of America. I hope you don't mind, Bill, but I was just telling the truth, man. And by the way, in case you're wondering about her judgment, take a look at her choice of running mate. Tim Kaine is as good a man, as humble and as committed a public servant as anybody that I know. I know his family. I love Ann. I love their kids. He will be a great vice president. He will make Hillary a better president, just like my dear friend and brother Joe Biden has made me a better president. Now, Hillary has real plans to address the concerns she's heard from you on the campaign trail. She's got specific ideas to invest in new jobs, to help workers share in their company's profits, to help put kids in preschool and put students through college without taking on a ton of debt. That's what leaders do. And then there's Donald Trump. Don't boo, vote. Yeah, the Donald is not really a plans guy. He's not really a facts guy either. He calls himself a business guy, which is true, but I have to say I know plenty of businessmen and women who've achieved remarkable success without leaving a trail of lawsuits and unpaid workers and people feeling like they got cheated. Does anyone really believe that a guy who spent his 70 years on this earth showing no regard for working people is suddenly going to be your champion, your voice? If so, you should vote for him. But if you're someone who's truly concerned about paying your bills, if you're really concerned about pocketbook issues and seeing the economy grow and creating more opportunity for everybody, then the choice isn't even close. If you want someone with a lifelong track record of fighting for higher wages and better benefits and a fairer tax code and a bigger voice for workers and stronger regulations on Wall Street, then you should vote for Hillary Clinton. And if you're rightly concerned about who's going to keep you and your family safe in a dangerous world, well, the choice is even clearer. Hillary Clinton is respected around the world, not just by leaders, but by the people they serve. I have to say this. People outside of the United States do not understand what's going on in this election. They really don't. Because they know Hillary, they've seen her work. She's worked closely with our intelligence teams, our diplomats, our military. She has the judgment and the experience and the temperament to meet the threat from terrorism. It's not new to her. Our troops have pounded ISIL without mercy, taking out their leaders, taking back territory. And I know Hillary won't relent until ISIL is destroyed. She will finish the job. And she will do it without resorting to torture or banning entire religions from entering our country. She is fit and she is ready to be the next commander-in-chief. Meanwhile, Donald Trump calls our military a disaster. Apparently, he doesn't know the men and women who make up the strongest fighting force the world has ever known. He suggests America is weak. He must not hear the billions of men and women and children from the Baltics to Burma who still look to America to be the light of freedom and dignity and human rights. He cozies up to Putin, praises Saddam Hussein, tells our NATO allies that stood by our side after 9/11 that they have to pay up if they want our protection. Well, America's promises do not come with a price tag. We meet our commitments. We bear our burdens. That's one of the reasons why almost every country on earth sees America as stronger and more respected today than they did 8 years ago when I took office. America is already great. America is already strong. And I promise you, our strength, our greatness, does not depend on Donald Trump. In fact, it doesn't depend on any one person. And that, in the end, may be the biggest difference in this election. The meaning of our democracy. Ronald Reagan called America a shining city on a hill. Donald Trump calls it a divided crime scene that only he can fix. It doesn't matter to him that illegal immigration and the crime rate are as low as they've been in decades, because he's not actually offering any real solutions to those issues. He's just offering slogans, and he's offering fear. He's betting that if he scares enough people, he might score just enough votes to win this election. And that's another bet that Donald Trump will lose. And the reason he'll lose it is because he's selling the American people short. We're not a fragile people. We're not a frightful people. Our power doesn't come from some self-declared savior promising that he alone can restore order as long as we do things his way. We don't look to be ruled. Our power comes from those immortal declarations first put to paper right here in Philadelphia all those years ago. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that we, the people, can form a more perfect union. That's who we are. That's our birthright, the capacity to shape our own destiny. That's what drove patriots to choose revolution over tyranny, and our GIs to liberate a continent. It's what gave women the courage to reach for the ballot, and marchers to cross a bridge in Selma, and workers to organize and fight for collective bargaining and better wages. America's never been about what one person says he'll do for us. It's about what can be achieved by us, together, through the hard and slow and sometimes frustrating, but ultimately enduring work of self-government. And that's what Hillary Clinton understands. She knows that this is a big, diverse country. She has seen it. She's traveled. She's talked to folks. And she understands that most issues are rarely black and white. She understands that even when you're 100% right, getting things done requires compromise. That democracy doesn't work if we constantly demonize each other. She knows that for progress to happen, we have to listen to each other and see ourselves in each other and fight for our principles, but also fight to find common ground, no matter how elusive that may sometimes seem. Hillary knows we can work through racial divides in this country when we realize the worry black parents feel when their son leaves the house isn't so different than what a brave cop's family feels when he puts on the blue and goes to work. That we can honor police and treat every community fairly. We can do that. And she knows that acknowledging problems that have festered for decades isn't making race relations worse. It's creating the possibility for people of goodwill to join and make things better. Hillary knows we can insist on a lawful and orderly immigration system while still seeing striving students and their toiling parents as loving families, not criminals or rapists. Families that came here for the same reason our forebears came, to work and to study and to make a better life in a place where we can talk and worship and love as we please. She knows their dream is quintessentially American, and the American dream is something no wall will ever contain. These are the things that Hillary knows. It can be frustrating, this business of democracy. Trust me, I know. Hillary knows too. When the other side refuses to compromise, progress can stall. People are hurt by the inaction. Supporters can grow impatient and worry that you're not trying hard enough, that you've maybe sold out. But I promise you, when we keep at it, when we change enough minds, when we deliver enough votes, then progress does happen. And if you doubt that, just ask the 20 million more people who have health care today. Just ask the Marine who proudly serves his country without hiding the husband that he loves. Democracy works, America, but we got to want it. Not just during an election year, but all the days in between. So if you agree that there's too much inequality in our economy and too much money in our politics, we all need to be as vocal and as organized and as persistent as Bernie Sanders supporters have been during this election. We all need to get out and vote for Democrats up and down the ticket, and then hold them accountable until they get the job done. That's right, feel the burn. If you want more justice in the justice system, then we've all got to vote not just for a president, but for mayors and sheriffs and state's attorneys and state legislatures. That's where the criminal law is made. And we've got to work with police and protesters until laws and practices are changed. That's how democracy works. If you want to fight climate change, we've got to engage not only young people on college campuses, we've got to reach out to the coal miner who's worried about taking care of his family, the single mom worried about gas prices. If you want to protect our kids and our cops from gun violence, we've got to get the vast majority of Americans, including gun owners who agree on things like background checks, to be just as vocal and just as determined as the gun lobby that blocks change through every funeral that we hold. That is how change happens. Look, Hillary's got her share of critics. She has been caricatured by the right and by some on the left. She has been accused of everything you can imagine and some things that you cannot. But she knows that's what happens when you're under a microscope for 40 years. She knows that sometimes during those 40 years she's made mistakes, just like I have, just like we all do. That's what happens when we try. That's what happens when you're the kind of citizen Teddy Roosevelt once described. Not the timid souls who criticize from the sidelines, but someone who is actually in the arena, who strives valiantly, who errs, but who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement. Hillary Clinton is that woman in the arena. She's been there for us, even if we haven't always noticed. And if you're serious about our democracy, you can't afford to stay home just because she might not align with you on every issue. You've got to get in the arena with her, because democracy isn't a spectator sport. America isn't about, yes, he will. It's about, yes, we can. And we're going to carry Hillary to victory this fall because that's what the moment demands. Yes, we can. Not yes, she can, not yes, I can. Yes, we can. There's been a lot of talk in this campaign about what America has lost. People who tell us that our way of life is being undermined by pernicious changes and dark forces beyond our control. They tell voters there's a real America out there that must be restored. This isn't an idea, by the way, that started with Donald Trump. It's been peddled by politicians for a long time, probably from the start of our republic. And it's gotten me thinking about the story I told you 12 years ago tonight, about my Kansas grandparents and the things they taught me when I was growing up. See, my grandparents, they came from the heartland. Their ancestors began settling there about 200 years ago. I don't know if they had their birth certificates, but they were there. And they were Scotch-Irish mostly. Farmers, teachers, ranch hands, pharmacists, oil rig workers. Hardy, small-town folk. Some were Democrats, but a lot of them, maybe even most of them, were Republicans. Party of Lincoln. And my grandparents explained that folks in these parts, they didn't like show-offs. They didn't admire braggarts or bullies. They didn't respect mean-spiritedness or folks who were always looking for shortcuts in life. Instead, what they valued were traits like honesty and hard work, kindness, courtesy, humility, responsibility, helping each other out. That's what they believed in. True things. Things that last. The things we try to teach our kids. And what my grandparents understood was that these values weren't limited to Kansas. They weren't limited to small towns. These values could travel to Hawaii. They could travel even to the other side of the world, where my mother would end up working to help poor women get a better life, trying to apply those values. My grandparents knew these values weren't reserved for one race. They could be passed down to a half Kenyan grandson or a half Asian granddaughter. In fact, they were the same values Michelle's parents, the descendants of slaves, taught their own kids, living in a bungalow on the south side of Chicago. They knew these values were exactly what drew immigrants here. And they believed that the children of those immigrants were just as American as their own. Whether they wore a cowboy hat or a yarmulke, a baseball cap or a hijab. America has changed over the years. But these values that my grandparents taught me, they haven't gone anywhere. They're as strong as ever. Still cherished by people of every party, every race, every faith. They live on in each of us. What makes us American, what makes us patriots, is what's in here. That's what matters. And that's why we can take the food and music and holidays and styles of other countries and blend it into something uniquely our own. That's why we can attract strivers and entrepreneurs from around the globe to build new factories and create new industries here. That's why our military can look the way it does. Every shade of humanity forged into common service. That's why anyone who threatens our values, whether fascists or communists or jihadists or homegrown demagogues, will always fail in the end. That is America. That is America. Those bonds of affection, that common creed. We don't fear the future, we shape it. We embrace it as one people, stronger together than we are on our own. That's what Hillary Clinton understands. This fighter, this stateswoman, this mother and grandmother, this public servant, this patriot, that's the America she's fighting for. And that is why I have confidence, as I leave this stage tonight, that the Democratic Party is in good hands. My time in this office, it hasn't fixed everything. As much as we've done, there's still so much I want to do. But for all the tough lessons I've had to learn, for all the places where I've fallen short, I've told Hillary, and I'll tell you what's picked me back up every single time. It's been you, the American people. It's the letter I keep on my wall from a survivor in Ohio who twice almost lost everything to cancer, but urged me to keep fighting for health care reform, even when the battle seemed lost. Do not quit. It's the painting I keep in my private office, a big-eyed green owl with blue wings, made by a 7-year-old girl who was taken from us in Newtown, given to me by her parents so I wouldn't forget. A reminder of all the parents who have turned their grief into action. It's the small business owner in Colorado who cut most of his own salary so he wouldn't have to lay off any of his workers in the recession, because he said that wouldn't have been in the spirit of America. It's the conservative in Texas who said he disagreed with me on everything, but he appreciated that, like him, I try to be a good dad. It's the courage of the young soldier from Arizona who nearly died on the battlefield in Afghanistan, but who has learned to speak again and walk again. And earlier this year, stepped through the door of the Oval Office on his own power to salute and shake my hand. It is every American who believed we could change this country for the better. So many of you who'd never been involved in politics, who picked up phones and hit the streets and used the internet in amazing new ways that I didn't really understand but made change happen. You are the best organizers on the planet, and I am so proud of all the change that you made possible. Time and again, you've picked me up. And I hope sometimes I picked you up too. And tonight, I ask you to do for Hillary Clinton what you did for me. I ask you to carry her the same way you carried me. Because you're who I was talking about 12 years ago when I talked about hope. It's been you who fueled my dogged faith in our future, even when the odds were great, even when the road is long. Hope in the face of difficulty. Hope in the face of uncertainty. The audacity of hope. America, you've vindicated that hope these past 8 years. And now I'm ready to pass the baton and do my part as a private citizen. So this year, in this election, I'm asking you to join me to reject cynicism and reject fear and to summon what is best in us to elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States and show the world we still believe in the promise of this great nation. Thank you for this incredible journey. Let's keep it going. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Reverend Dr. Gabriel Salguero, pastor of the Iglesia El Calvario.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we come to you tonight because we recognize our desperate need of you. Each of us, Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, we know that we depend on you and that you love us all. And as we walk toward the autumn of elections, we pray you would guide our great nation. Lord, help us transcend the nefarious traps of cynicism, despair, and division with the courageous work of hope and love. Teach us to continuously cherish and fervently defend the dignity of every human being. Help us, God, never to tire in the work of compassion and justice. Instruct us to be ever mindful of the most vulnerable among us, the child, the widow, the orphan, the immigrant, and the refugee. Dios, danos la valentía de confrontar nuestros desafíos con amor. And help us, God, to hew the future of our great republic from the bedrock of love. May our work reflect your character of compassion, justice, and civility. And may we never be satisfied until every child of God has an opportunity to flourish. From Portland to Philadelphia, from our small towns to our magnificent cities, from our police officers to our children. Help us to move forward in unity, a more perfect union that believes that despair and violence can never conquer love, hope, and justice. And Lord, help us to do this work together, from every ethnicity and color, rich and poor, women and men, the elderly and the young. We confess tonight that we are our brothers and sisters' keeper, and that together we can do more. Give us optimistic tenacity to respond to some of today's persistent chasms con esperanza. Help us to never cease until our nation sees the day when we transform any jangling discords of racism, xenophobia, and violence into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood and sisterhood. And this I pray in the matchless name of Jesus. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen of the convention, my fellow delegates, tonight we have heard our president and our vice president. We also nominated and heard from our vice presidential nominee, Tim Kaine, who together with Hillary Clinton will lead our party to victory in November. The chair will entertain a motion to recess our convention until 4:30 p.m. Thursday, July 28th. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. We are in recess until 4:30 tomorrow.